What's going on, good people? Welcome to Coach Marcus Games. I am Coach Marcus, and haven't done this in a long time. I haven't been excited about a show uh, since Game of Thrones, and the only reason I was very excited with Game of Thrones is because I actually read the books before the show came out. Um, and this is Lanterns. Um, very excited. Watched the first episode. Want to talk about the first episode, man, but like it got me. Watched it. It's not your stereotypical superhero type show. A little bit different, a little bit grounded, a little bit gritty, down to earth, and they interject enough references that let you know there is a galactic thing happening, but it still keeps it grounded. It's funny how they juxtapose something galactic in space, otherworldly, with a small town in Nebraska. But they do that. So, great show. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to go through some different parts about it, talk about it, and we're going to keep going on. Today is Sunday after about 12:15 noon, and the new episode comes tonight. I'm just a regular old fan watching it. I don't have exclusive privy to it. I haven't watched all the episodes yet and all of that kind of stuff. This is just my reactions to it, and it must be good if I'm recording on it. So this is the first part. I'm gonna try to avoid too much because I'm not trying to get copyrighted. Pretty sure with the rules, but there'll be a lot of edits and stuff. But this is the first scene where you got the kid watching Hal Jordan on television, and you can see he's enthused and he's you know, all about it. And then of course the situation with his brothers, because the dad is coming home, and that's the crux. On the show, they ask him, "Are you afraid?" And he tells about he had already told about losing his dad. So the quote is, "As a kid, once you lose a parent, not much to be afraid of." So to me, that kind of opened the door where, okay, we haven't seen parents yet, and then of course you see the dad show up, and then but where's mom? So maybe the mom is the loss that he's referring to. That's the way I took it. Let's see if I can move ahead a little bit. And of course, this is John Stewart Sr. And I believe in the comics, and let me say this, I did not read Green Lantern comics. So I am not familiar with all of the actual lore. To be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that I've been pulling is my knowledge from when I watched Justice League and the cartoons and McDuffie's cartoons, that Green Lantern, because they use John Stewart. So that's where my vision of John Stewart comes from, not from the comics. So I gotta go on Gemini and ChatGPT and look up the lore, the comic lore, the actual accurate lore. But in the show, this is John Stewart Sr., and that wasn't the case in the comic. The comics, I think he was kind of like an abuser or not a good guy, so they're changing it for the show, and that's good. I don't know who this actor is. A lot of people have mentioned him like he's really good. I thought he was good in this part. So the boy, everybody's scared. You don't see the other two brothers; they frozen, right? So obviously, dad's military, obviously military disciplinarian. You know, you on the up and up and you know keeping everything together. And then let me see if we can fast forward to. That's too far. All right, there we go. This is the scene that everybody's talking about, and when he goes William Tell, and you know shoots the apple off his head with the gun, and he asks him, "Are you afraid?" And then there you have it. But what they show you very briefly the other bullet holes going up which means as the kid has been growing up, he's been doing this over and over and over and over again. And I had to go back and watch a couple of scenes again, and I'm like, why is he doing this? This makes no sense. And then later on, when you hear in the episode, when he gets the call from the dad, like, you want this job, like, they already know what's going on. And that led me to believe, like, the dad already knew what was going on. So when you go back and look at the scene, I'm looking at it and like, what's with the bullet holes? Was he doing that with all of the kids? So no. So clearly they got some knowledge that he's special, because he's been doing this for a long time. That's what the bullet holes was showing. This ain't the first time this happened. The kid didn't flinch. Now they going to get a burger. You know what I mean? But when I go back and look at, after watching the whole episode and coming back to this scene, John Stewart Sr. knows that Junior is special. That's the only thing I can surmise, because this makes no sense. This makes absolutely no sense. So yeah, so it's hard to see back here. All of these are bullet holes. And obviously, you know, like when you were a kid and you make the marks and show how people have grown, this is the same thing, except you got bullet holes all the way up here. And this was the last one right here, what he just did. So that just lets you know that he's been doing this for a long time. And it's not a once a year thing. This has been happening frequently. So I say all that to say John Stewart is special. The dad knows he's special. And I'm going to guess that sometime in an episode later on down the line, we're going to find out how much he knows and why he knows. Because I know in the trailer, there's a quick scene where you see some type of shapeshifter standing in front of a black woman with a baby, which means I'm going to assume that was him. Now, the first time I saw that, I was like, well, we got John Jones in the building, but obviously it's going to be somebody, a guardian, or maybe it's a manhunter. I don't know. Somebody that can change form. And that's going to explain this scene. So, and then, of course, very easy to pick up that Hal Jordan is a dick. Jon Stewart don't like him, and you got the loose attitude versus the military discipline, and it's oil and water not mixing. But they get along long enough to do the things that they need to do. I did like the scene where he puts the ring up and throws him out. And they really set this scene up, in my opinion. They do a lot of world building. And when you get the hologram where Jon Stewart gets the ring, and then the conscious pops out and tells him what's going on. And he's like, oh, I haven't taught you how to fly. I haven't taught you how to do anything. So you get the sense that Hal Jordan years ago was a lot better dude than he is now. And he done seen some things. He done seen some intergalactic battles and all that kind of stuff. So in any case, so puts it on that and he jumps out and he goes to get tacos. Of course, it was a test. I love this scene. This was the scene they showed in the trailer. I was like, oh, damn. And the reason why I liked it was because they made you think that Jon Stewart was going to take it and like do something. And he didn't. I had to go back and look. Let me see. Let me see if I can go find that. He jumps out, right? So I want to see if you can see this. He finally gets the ring. He finally grabs the ring, right? Um, and I had to go back and look at this. And the only reason I looked at it was because I heard other people talking about this. When the car crashes, you see the big thing of green bubble wrap pop out the car. Because I missed it. For some reason, I missed it. I wasn't paying attention. When Hal Jordan asked John how he escaped, he said bubble wrap. And when I first watched this, I totally missed that for some reason. I don't know if something else was going on, but I totally missed that line of dialogue. Puts the ring on, activated, and you just see it right here, a big thing of bubble wrap coming out. Yeah, it's there. You can barely see it. You can barely see it right there. It looks like almost like a coffin, and that was the bubble wrap. So they hid that on purpose. And then he talks to the he talks to the this is when he talks to the hologram. And in my opinion, this is what sets up the show. All of that other one was relationship building, letting you know the relationship between Hal and John Stewart. Great setup. Kept it short, kept it. You know what the situation is. The dad was all about discipline, and you think that John Stewart's dad is a dick for shooting, shooting apples off his head, but then he's still talking to his pop. His pop is aware, like, do you want this job? They're just trying to put you on tilt, all of that type of stuff. And I'm like, dad knows what's going on. And he's been preparing his kid, and now he's in it. So John Stewart's giving feedback to his pops. And then this sets it up like the whole thing, Hale in Nebraska, sets the plot of the whole show. Give himself a message, sets everything up, and the AI realizes that he has not been training John Stewart well. So let me get to the tacos. This was the tacos, delivers the message, bubble wrap. I totally missed that the first time. I totally missed that bubble wrap. That's funny though. But again, this scene, the taco stand, right before the scene, he's signing autographs and stuff like that. So everybody knows who he is. Again, to me, that's world building, which means if everybody knows who he is in this little podunk place in Nebraska or wherever they are in LA, he's worldwide. Everybody on earth knows who he is. You know what I mean? So they kind of established that, and I thought this was a cool scene, and the look he gives him with the bubble wrap scene, and then he tells him about the hologram, and then he goes on, and man, let's skip to. I want to skip to the best scene. Now, this is the only scene right here. This scene right here between John Stewart and the lady named Zoe, who turned out to be old dude's wife. This is the only part of the show that I didn't like. This is the only scene that I didn't like because, in my mind, clearly she's trying to get some information. She was asking too many pointed questions, and I didn't like the fact that they wrote John Stewart not smart enough to pick up on that. Clearly, she was trying to get information. I don't know if she's an alien. I don't know if she's a shapeshifter. And then when you find out who she actually is, um, clearly this was a setup. So you don't know if she got to be a villain. I don't know. Femme fatale, whatever you want to call it. But clearly she's there to get some information. And the way they portray Stewart in this show, he should have been able to pick up on that, and he didn't. That's my only issue with this show. That was too obvious. That was way too obvious. And then she sleeps with him, and like, dude, you just got there. You don't know this woman. You know what I mean? So I don't know. As many precautions as disciplined as somebody like John Stewart is supposed to be, and then you fall for the banana in the tailpipe, literally. so, um, so yeah, yeah, this was a good show. This dude, that's John Ritter's son. Yeah, I don't know who John Ritter is. Staple of the '70s comedic actor, passed away not too a couple years ago. That's his son. Big deal for people that grew up in the '70s, though. So let me see. He's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. We got that. this is the scene where Stewart finds out who Zoe is. Now he's pretty much awkward, and then you get the guy, eating ribs off another man's grill. I thought that was an awesome line, but I want to get to the this scene right here. So you already know you're trying to figure out who's he aligned with. I'm gonna guess some type. They're gonna connect Lex Luthor or somebody that works with Lex Luthor to have that type of money to, where you need NDAs and all that kind of stuff. So, and then we get into this was the best scene on the show, the interrogation. They got the alien and Hal Jordan is figuring out, like, this guy gets his information from ChatGPT or whatever, because his answers are very, very strict and very, very pointed, and they don't deviate. And he catches them. And then the dude knows he's caught. The dude knows he's caught. And then when he started doing the stuff about the reciting the Green Lantern line, and then Hal Jordan's like, are we exploding or are we talking? Because it's almost lunchtime. And then he was like, I'm just going to bubble up. And the fact that he lets him know that he knows about the ring, you got to repower it. Has it been more than 48 hours? Like, he knows all of this stuff. So he's been doing his homework. And he's intergalactic. He knows about the Green Lantern Corps. So he knows the rules of engagement. So, but yeah, this was the best scene in the show. Yeah, when he starts talking about Barack Obama, he's like, yeah, I got you. That's how he got him. And then, of course, when they actually explode, this is right after he did the oath. I like how John Stewart, like, put your gun down, and then he starts beeping, and then my man bubble up. Yeah, that was the scene right there. That was a fantastic scene. Fantastic scene. Then some other stuff happens. Um, and then John comes back, and I noticed, and I remember picking this up, and then of course I see other people said the same thing. I picked this up when I first saw it. I was like, that's what John Stewart looks like in the cartoons. That's what he looks like. So I was like, okay, I see them giving a nod, and then they find Hal Jordan at the end. Um, he's dead, but he's not wearing the ring. So that's the big mystery going into episode 2. Who got the ring? What happened to Hal Jordan, and who got the ring? Now, here's the thing. I had to look up some stuff about this. Number one, um, I did not know, and I had to look up the comic book lore. I did not know that, because I know Guy Gardner's going to be on the show. And so the automatic assumption is Guy Gardner's got the ring, but a million people have seen from the Superman movies that happened before this time period how Guy Gardner already had his ring. So I had to look up. I had to go on Gemini and look this up. Like, why did Abin Sur pick Hal Jordan? And the comic book lore says the ring selected Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner at the same time. They were the two best candidates for the ring. The reason why Hal Jordan got the ring, because he was physically closer. He was closer in proximity to the ring, so that was the fastest course of action. That's why Hal Jordan got the ring. I never knew that. But that makes a difference here, because if Guy Gardner's got his own ring, that means somebody figured out a way for the ring not to go back to Oa. The only reason I know that is because I've seen it in the cartoons. When the Green Lantern dies or something like that, the ring hightails it back to Oa, to the originators, to the Guardians, and they find somebody else to take the ring. So somebody's either got the ring contained, but how do you contain that intergalactic ring? That thing's supposed to be super powerful, all that kind of stuff. So I had to do some homework. So I had to go to Gemini and I asked the question. I said, how would a DC villain, let me let y'all into this. How would a DC villain stop a Green Lantern ring from returning or finding a new wearer? And it says, in DC Comics, a Green Lantern ring is essentially an advanced alien supercomputer linked directly to Oa and the sentient planet Mogo, who guides the rings to new candidates. When a lantern falls, the ring defaults to autopilot and it immediately locks down, shields itself, and rockets off at warp speed to locate a replacement. To intercept or stop a Green Lantern ring from returning to base or finding a new host, the villain typically uses one of these proven tactics. Okay, so now you're talking about quantum stasis and energy containment. That's possible. Maybe they'll call it something different on the show, but you got to have some type of force field or advanced technology. And they've already shown in the trailer for the next episode, they're in some type of white room with advanced technology, weapons, and a portal, all that kind of stuff. And they talk about weapons, and they mentioned he's not supposed to have weapons with this type of technology, all of that type. So they lean a little bit into that. Override or AI hacking. And then they talk about certain characters, Cyborg, Superman, Cronus, Sinestro. Maybe Sinestro, but I don't think Sinestro in this, how they're going to use him in the show. So we can take that out of the picture. I don't think that's going to happen. The disruption via the emotional spectrum. Let's get into the colors, the green, the yellow, the red, the white, the blue, all of that, the different color rings. I don't think they're going to get into that either. They got to stick with one color for right now. Yes, they're going to have green. They'll probably have a little bit of yellow because everybody knows. If you don't know nothing about nothing, you know Green Lantern is green and the antithesis is yellow. So you know that. But I don't think they're going to get into, they've been hitting that maybe Parallax, but they're not going to get into Atrocitus and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't think. Mogo is too far gone. Mogo is the whole Green Lantern planet. The planet is actually a sentient planet that is a Green Lantern. So I don't think that's going to happen. Biological and physical bindings, magical sorceresses. They mentioned Cersei. Yeah, they're not bringing them type of characters on this show, I don't think. So, however, I read this part right here. So they're talking about biological and physical bindings. So magic. Sorcerers like Felix Faust or Cersei bypass the ring's technology entirely by using magical seals and curses. I don't think that's going to happen on the show. The second one is lead. Lead is easy. You can acknowledge in this show that Superman exists. If you bring in Guy Gardner, you have to. Because Nathan Fillion is playing Guy Gardner, and he was in the Superman movie. So they have to at least acknowledge Superman exists. So lead is a real thing. Lead, specifically shielded vaults, placing the ring inside a lead-lined zero radiation or antimatter containers prevent the ring from broadcasting its location back to Sector 2814 or OA. And like I said, and then you had the trailer for the next episode. They walk into this white room and there's this big round portal. And I'm going to guess that if they walk through that portal, they're going to be somewhere else, not on Earth. So that's a possibility. So I'm looking at number 5, biological and physical binding, as that could be what happened to the ring. Somehow, whoever killed Hal Jordan managed to get close enough to him and figure out a way to bind the ring or bind his hands or put his hands in the box. I don't know. Before the ring would come off and try to fly away. So that's possible. Or we already know they're talking about manhunters. Manhunters are shapeshifters. So maybe that's not Hal Jordan, because John Stewart does not have a ring and can't detect whether it is or isn't. So that is at least a possibility. But in any case, this is me just spitballing on this. I love the show. Haven't been excited about a show like this since like HBO's Game of Thrones. So um, I'll be looking in the backgrounds, looking in the back of the sets for clues and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. I know this was all over the place, but I had fun watching the show and can't wait till tonight so I can watch episode 2 and then I'll do a proper reaction to episode 2 after that airs. So, all right, to the next one. Peace.